Salute to all the supporters, all the people viewing this video. Salute to all the subscribers. Salute to all the Patreon members. I want to thank you guys for your support. It really means a lot to me. If you guys could do me a favor, hit the like button, share this video. Check out the links in the description box below for the Patreon page and the Facebook page. I will be, I think I might post 2 new videos tonight on Patreon. If not 2, I definitely going to post 1. I had a different topic I wanted to talk about, and then this little shit came up, and I don't want to talk about that on YouTube. Right? I'd rather talk about that on Patreon. All right, because I try to talk about trending topics, but not everything. You know, nothing too political. Hip hop is like, you know, stuff that's hip hop related. You know, I'd rather just talk about that on Patreon. But anyways, taxi driver arrested for attack on Australian tourists. Okay. So I guess this is the taxi driver right here. This is the Australian tourist. And I don't know where they're at. They might be at the precinct. I don't know. And he's begging for forgiveness. I don't know. You gotta understand that a lot of these taxi drivers, like their taxi is like their livelihood. I don't really think from what I've seen living in Thailand. For those that don't know, my name is Splash Wave Beats. I've either been living or traveling abroad for the last 15 years. All right, going on 16 years. It's been a journey. I lived out of that 15, 16-year run. I was in and out of Thailand for about 8 years. The longest stint I had in Thailand was about 4.5 years. All right. A lot of taxi drivers in Thailand, you know, that's their livelihood. You know, I don't think they make that much money, but it is their livelihood. And people still would rather catch taxis in Thailand than to call Uber. All right. I would say I've had issues with both taxi drivers and Uber drivers. With taxis, they have their fuel tank in the trunk of the car. I don't know what kind of fuel that is in the trunk of the car, but I get sick every time I get inside of a taxi. So I would book Ubers. And a lot of the Uber drivers, you know, well, I'm not even going to go there, but some of the Uber drivers I would have an issue with because, you know, you can't really send them a photo of yourself. I guess in Uber at the time when I was there, I don't know if it's changed, but you can't show nobody a photo of yourself. I guess you can only type like what you look like and describe yourself in a text. Read that. You know, they have a translation button where it's like, you know, translate the text in their language so they could read that. But many times, like, I would tell Uber drivers, like, hey, I'm standing right here. I'm wearing this. I look like this. You can't miss me, you know, at this landmark, at this location. And they would just drive past. Many times would drive past every single time. I've never, rarely would I get in my Uber on time in Thailand. So I've had issues with both taxi drivers and Ubers. Now, this incident right here is when, you know, this taxi driver got into an argument with this tourist right here. I've gotten into arguments with taxi drivers before. And I'll explain it a little bit later after I read this. It's very short. A Bangkok taxi driver was arrested for attacking an Australian tourist after an argument over a slammed car door and fare dispute. All right. The incident occurred on October 23rd at 3:30 a.m. near Nara Tiwat, Rachin, I can't even pronounce that, in Sathorn district. I want to. I don't. I don't think. Where is Sathorn District? Where? Hold on. Set. Okay. Hold on. What's in Sathorn District? Because you out there at 3:30 a.m. You seem like you having the time of your life. Uh. Okay. It's on the west side. It's it's right across the river from Icon Siam, and it's south of Lumpini Park. Okay. So. Hmm. So it seemed like he was having a good old time. Uh, I think Icon Siam is in that area. Asia Teak is in that area. Um, yeah. So seemed like he was having a good time. Probably came back from the club, or on that side of town, they have Khalsan Road. So there's stuff going on in that area. Whether he went to a nightclub or Asia Teak. Asia Teak is like, it's like a night market. It's kind of like it's a little bit more upscale than some of your typical night markets over there. It's an upscale night, different restaurants and a Ferris wheel and bumper cars and a haunted house, and there's like a huge pirate ship that's docked there. Right, a lot of couples you see them going out. Asia Teak, Khalsan Road. It's just one road with a bunch of vendors, and there's restaurants and there's nightclubs. Right, so Lumpini Park. I know down. What is that? Sealam. They have shopping malls, and the gym district is there, and I think there's a couple of nightclubs there. So this stuff happened in that area where he picked them up at. The 39-year-old Australian was injured with a cutter knife, suffering a wound to his right abdomen. Rescuers transported him to the hospital for treatment. So this guy, as it says in the caption, this guy gutted him with a cutter knife. Okay, according to the initial investigation, the victim was traveling in a pink Toyota taxi when an argument broke out with the driver, identified as Mr. Sumron, age 49. The altercation escalated when the driver demanded the fare and the passenger slammed the car door. In response, the driver retrieved the cutter from the glove box and during the confrontation, slashed it towards. So they're saying it's over a fair dispute, but they're not really going into detail. They haven't said that he didn't pay him anything, right? He might have wanted more money. This dude said, "Is he breastfeeding the driver?" Okay. Authorities from this police station, CCTV footage from the area, and identified Mr. Summer as the perpetrator. He was later arrested and confessed to the crime. He explained that he had picked up the Australian driver, tourist, and a Thai man from Sealam Soi 2. What's happening on Sealam Soi 2? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, that's the LGBT district. Okay, yeah. So I knew there was some. I know there's some strips over on the Sealam area, like there's some nightclubs and some nightlife going on. It's not in your face like Nana, right? It's kind of like hidden down certain alleys. I never really hung out at Sealam at night, but from what I'm seeing right here, they're saying it's the LGBT district. So this man went over to Sealam Soy 2, found him a boy toy, and wanted to go to a hotel and have relations. And this taxi driver fucked it up for him, right? Ruined his night. This man was trying to get him some Bucci cat, and he ruined it for him. He explained that he had picked up the all right. So when the passenger slammed the door, it led to a heated exchange, resulting in the attack. And this guy probably couldn't even communicate with him. And the guy he was with, which was a Thai man, it's like, why couldn't he communicate with him? Or maybe he was too afraid, right? The guy he was with could have de-escalated the situation. He was he was charged with assault, carrying injury, and legal proceedings are underway. So I don't know if a fare was actually paid or not. I'm gonna tell you this, man. I've had arguments in Thailand where, I was over at Nana and I was trying to get down to M Quartier, and I usually ask how much before I get in because I want to see if they're on some bullshit. This was at a time when I had been living there for a while, and I think the taxi driver said something like 600 baht. I'm like, get all the way the fuck out of here. Why? Because to take you from Nana to M Quartier, the meter starts at 40 baht. So by the time you get to M Quartier, if there's not a bunch of traffic, you paying like 60 to 70 baht, right? So for somebody to charge me 10 times the meter rate, I had to slam the door on him. Then he's begging me like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, please. No, come back into my taxi. Like, I apologize. No. I'll give my money to somebody else. Or I could have just walked there, but I was too lazy, right? There was another time I was trying to get to Rangsit, Bangkok University, Rangsit. It's a diamond-shaped building. The Diamond Campus. You guys can look that up, right? Because I used to live across the street at Cave Condo, Kave Condo. All right. So I would tell people, because the traffic is the opposite. In America, we drive on the right-hand side of traffic, opposite directions coming from the left. In Thailand, you drive on the left-hand side of traffic, the opposite side is coming from the right. So I needed to get off on the right-hand side of the highway, but remember, like you drive on the left-hand side. So there's like a walkway bridge that goes from from Bangkok University to Cave Condo. And I said something in Thailand. I said something in Thai to give him a location, right? And I guess he got confused and he thought, okay, I need to pull over right here. I'm like, no, keep going further, right? And he starts getting angry. Like, he starts yelling. I'm like, so I said, hey, calm down. Don't worry. Keep on driving. All you had to drive was like another 5 minutes, right? So he has like this temper tantrum as he's driving. And this was one of those days where I was like, nah, I don't want to argue with him. I'm going to just keep on smiling and laughing just to show how much of an idiot he is, right? It was one of the rare days where I'm not even going to one-up you, being aggressive, yelling. He was looking in the rear view mirror the whole time, getting mad, and I'm just laughing and smiling. I'm like, no, just keep on driving, right? Calm down, Miss Ma'am, Mr. Ma'am, just keep on driving. And he's just losing his shit, right? So he drops me off, and I'm like, no, pull over here. He drops me off. I just throw the money in the front, and I keep on walking. So then he gets out the car, starts yelling, but when he gets out the car, I walk back towards him and he realized how big I am. And he gets back in the car. Right? I'm like, what is it that what are you angry about? What are you mad about? I paid you your money. I paid you what's on the meter. All I ask you to just keep on driving 5 minutes up the road. You're a taxi driver. You got paid more. I didn't ask for you to drive 30 minutes out. It's just no, this isn't it. This isn't the stop I intended to stop. You might have not heard me because my tie, it might not have been clear to you what I was saying. No, just keep driving. Just 5 minutes up the road. There's a couple of taxi drivers that have thrown temper tantrums at me. I'm glad that didn't escalate, but there was another taxi driver. I'm asking him, hey, can you take me here? This is that and the third. And he wanted to charge me something that was off the meter. I'm like, nah, see, y'all scamming over here. And when I walked away, he grabbed my arm because he was pointing at my tattoos. And he said, oh, mafia, mafia, mafia. So I smacked his arm. I smacked his arm off my arm for grabbing my arm, and his hand hit his face. I didn't hit his face, but I smacked it, and it just kind of flew back, and it hit him in his nose. And that almost turned into something like, hey, the fuck you grabbing me for? Right? And he backed off, but I'm glad that didn't escalate because, that could turn into something, right? You stay and argue with people, and this Australian guy, he did the right thing, right? Walk away. I'm pretty sure the dispute was over him trying to overcharge him. And there was a law that came out a few years ago when I was living in Thailand where they said, like, hey, anybody that's trying to scam you, any of these taxi drivers that are trying to scam you, you let us know and we'll find out who's doing this. Because it's illegal for them to go off the meter to charge you whatever it is that they feel like it. They were doing this to a lot of tourists over at the Grand Palace. Right. They would there was a bunch of scamming taxi drivers over there. All right. But when somebody's arguing with you, if it's a dispute over the fare and they're trying to overcharge you first of all, if you're in Thailand or anywhere around the world, especially in Asia, when you when you get in a taxi, you tell them where you're going. Right? You say meter. First thing you say, hey, meter. Turn that meter on. If they're driving and they ain't turn that meter on and you're not paying attention, they're going to hit you with whatever it is they feel like hitting you with. And if you're somebody who's been traveling to Thailand frequently, it'll catch you off guard. You go to a hotel and you expecting to pay like 80 baht and they say 800 baht. You're like, get the fuck out of here. They're doing that. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to pay anything now. If I'm assuming that's what happened because they're not pointing it out in the article. And hold on. I'm pretty sure this article is also on Tiger News. Yeah, it's on Tiger News. It's just a short version of it. They didn't mention anything about him not wanting to pay the fare. It was an argument. When I hear there's an argument over a fare dispute, that means I'm assuming, I can't say, but I'm assuming this guy did not turn on the meter and he wasn't paying attention because, he was too focused on, his boo that was sitting next to him that he pulled from the strip. All right. You're not paying attention. But him cutting somebody, that's out of line because if the roles were reversed, All they did was arrest this man. They're waiting on charges. I'm pretty sure he's not going to see the light of jail. If it would have been reversed, if he would have done that to him, oh, they'd have thrown him under the jail. All right. They would have thrown him under the jail. They probably would have gave him some years. They would have given him years. And they would have made an example out of him. And then Thailand would have been in an uproar talking about, hey, these foreigners. And although people feel like that, if foreigners were to fulfill their demands and leave Thailand, Thais will be begging for them to come back if that would have happened, right? But here you have all taxi drivers aren't like that, but all taxi drivers aren't like that. But I've had a few issues with taxi drivers and Uber drivers. A lot of female Uber drivers is just they don't see you, they don't see anything, they get lost easily. Male Uber drivers, I don't think I've had any issues with male Uber drivers. Male taxi drivers, very rarely is it an argument. It's just a language barrier, right? That's the only issue for the most part I've had with taxi drivers. But every once in a while, you'll have somebody, like I said, they're trying to overcharge you. They're trying to hustle you. And I'm like, man, get the fuck out of here. And then as I'm walking away, grab my arm, pointing at it, saying, mafia, mafia, mafia. And I smack it off and his hand hits his face, right? That was one. The other guy having a temper tantrum because he had to drive like a couple minutes farther up the road. That's uncalled for, right? I can't think of any other time besides them trying to overcharge me when I get in the car and I say, no, I'm good. And then they beg for you to come back. I've had that. When you walk in, make sure, why do I keep on saying walk in? When you get in a taxi, you flag down a taxi, you get in a taxi, make sure you say, hey, meter, turn on the meter, right? And tell them to take you to a landmark. If it's a specific address you need to get to, you should just you should do the booking on the app. So the app is called Grab Taxi, like grab somebody, GRAB Taxi. And if you need to get to a specific address, you don't know the landmarks around that area, then just book it through there. If you flag somebody down, best way is to, book a landmark. So if you want to get to, and most foreigners, they only go to landmarks. So it was like, hey, Asiatique. They'll say, okay. And sometimes you could pronounce it the English way, the proper way, but Thais, they have a thing where they'll take words and make it their own. So there's a mall in Rangsit on the north side of Bangkok, and it's called Future Park, right? Future Park Mall. I used to live there, in that area. And if you say Future Park Mall to a taxi driver, they're not going to understand you. So you have to say Future Park. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, Future Park Mall. And they'll take you there, right? So I used to live in the Nichmano condo. No, excuse me. I take that back. I used to live in Supalai City Resort condo in Chengwatana. That's by there's a huge immigration building. The main one in Bangkok is right next to there. But like if I would book the taxi, well, I had a motorbike, so I drive there. But if I didn't have a motorbike and I booked the taxi, if I didn't book it through the app, then I wouldn't tell him to take me to, you know, Supply City Resort, because they might not know the exact address, right? You don't really see GPSs in the taxis, or at least when I was there. I'd be like, hey, take me to Central World Chengwatana, and they'll take me there, and then I would just walk back to Supply City Resort. Or when they're driving that direction, I'm like, hey, no, pull in here. Yeah, and they'll be like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, right. But sounds like this guy was trying to swindle him, and he wasn't paying attention. And then when he hit him with the price, and he's probably either traveled to Thailand many times or he might even live there. He said, hell no, I'm not paying you that amount. And that's when he, you know, hit him with the knife. All right. So be careful when you go to countries in Asia. Other places I've never really had an issue, like Taiwan. I don't even think I've ever taken a taxi in Taiwan. I think I've only taken Ubers and taxi. I've never had any issues taking an Uber and taxi, or an Uber, excuse me, in Taiwan. I'm thinking about going there in January. I might go there in January. I've only taken Ubers. I remember one time I was taking an Uber in Taiwan, in Shinju, and I bought something, but I had to. It was like it came in a big box. I forgot what I bought, but I was putting it in the car. I took it out the basket. I put it in the car, and the basket floated off. It hit this guy's car, the Uber car, and it chipped the paint and put a dent in his car, and he didn't even get angry behind it. So now I had that happen in Thailand. Well, a taxi driver, he don't give a damn. Like, there's so many dents and discoloration on the taxis over there. But somebody's car, you never know how they're going to take it in Thailand. So, be careful when you go to some of these places. There are people where most people there, in certain countries, they're more level-headed. They don't really react like Taiwan. They're pretty cool, chill, laid back, level-headed, don't react that much. And then you got like mainland China, where it's totally different. You know what I'm saying? You got Thailand, where it's not as, people aren't as on edge in Thailand as they are in China. But sometimes, man, they can, some of them is like you don't know how they're gonna react, especially the women. All right. So I'm over and I'm out. I'm gonna do another live stream here in a little bit. I just wanted to start off getting some, putting some news out there, some trending topics out there. I wanted to talk about this to kind of give you guys, some advice whenever you're traveling, some information to follow, right? And it's a story that recently happened. Mix the advice with the topics, with the trending topics, with what's out there in the news. It's your one-stop shop for your travel news information. Salute to Activo. Thank you for I'll say the super chat donation, because I don't know how much that is, but I appreciate your support. Yeah. Like I said, man, before you get into a taxi, be careful, right? Make sure the first thing you say, hey, turn on that meter. Because if they don't, they love getting foreigners, because they think because they pick you up in a hot spot for foreigners that you don't know much. Like, it's your first time, and it's like, I've had to tell people, no, I live here. I live here. I know better. What are you talking about? I know better. I live here. And they're like, oh, okay. Right. But later on, I might do a live stream giving my thoughts on. I want to give my thoughts on. I just want to make a short video giving my thoughts on this balloon popping dating show. What I've observed. I don't want the video to be no longer than 10 minutes. Right. So it's about 4:20 p.m. over here. Give me about an hour and I'll come back and I'll give my 2 cents on this balloon popping. I don't want it to be too long. And then later on tonight, I'm gonna do, what I think about this little Dirk situation. But I'm gonna do it on. I don't want to do it on here. I just think that this isn't a platform to be talking about that. Especially when you're trying to book flights and get your passports to get away from this type of stuff that goes on out here. All right. But anyways, I'll see you guys in about an hour. Take care.